From my DOS computer and bulletin board system days to 2014, when I was given the opportunity to participate in Dev Bootcamp and catapult my career into software development. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the 4 A's. So let's do this. Oh, this is like I made that so I can fundraise for myself. Anyway. All right, the first word, appropriation, okay? Appropriation is taking cultural symbols, often to satisfy a personal need for self-expression. It typically exploits those cultures without credit and benefit to that culture, okay? AKA Columbusing, okay? The next word, assimilation. Assimilation is the process of blending into dominant or privileged cultures as a means for survival, and the pressure to do that is threatens to erase a person's authentic identities. Okay, byproducts of assimilation are respectability politics, which pushes marginalized groups that are trying to assimilate to police their own members, maintaining their place in the dominant culture. There's also a byproduct which is called code switching. Oop, wait, go backwards. Okay. Code switching means having to change your language and behaviors depending on your surroundings and to maintain the role of belonging or having assimilated into that identity. The third word, appreciation. Okay, super awesome word. Okay, appreciation is not just the nicety of liking another culture, the things about that culture. It's also acknowledgement and respect. Okay, appreciation is shown by learning about, amplifying, and supporting the work of the people within that culture. Okay, give props to those people. That brings us to the last word, that is allyship. Or better yet, becoming an accomplice. Okay, allyship is an act of solidarity. Okay, by listening, educating yourself, knowing your place in relationship to those you're allies to, you're taking the act of being an ally. Okay, you're using your privilege to advance the work of your allies and continue to center them and not you, because it's not about you at that point. Important pieces of allyship is speaking up, but not over, even when not in the presence of those that you're being an ally to. And it's also to understand that you're going to make mistakes and that that's okay, but focusing on the acknowledgement of that mistake, doing better, and not focusing on the agony of that mistake. But why do we care about this? Intentions don't erase impact. The worlds we create are reflective of the worlds we inhabit. As we invent, maintain, and disrupt realities, knowing these terms help us navigate spaces, turning them into safe spaces, allow us to bring our whole selves to do our best work together. Again, my name is Kara. I'm a free agent, so #hire me. You can also find me at Right Speak Code in Chicago and nationally, and on the Twitters. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I am the API Community Manager for Chicago and the East Coast. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about FinTech. And if anyone out there is interested and wants to talk FinTech or data algorithms, I would love to chat with you after. But here we go. So just a little bit of facts for you guys. I'm just talking about the amount of investment that is growing in FinTech. I'm not sure how many out there are familiar with Yodlee. Anyone? Anyone? All right, cool. How about anyone out there working on any FinTech projects? All right, definitely. Let's chat after. So as you guys know, you can see here, there's a lot of growth in FinTech all over the US and internationally as well. Our company works in the US and in the EU and Australia, so we are definitely excited to see that. A little bit of a background here, a little bit of fun. It's kind of the rumor, our name Yodlee, right? A little bit of a weird name. So what I kind of found with some digging is that our owner and CEO, Anil Arora, is actually really likes Kishore Kumar. So that's kind of the name behind it. As you can guess, he's a very famous yodeler. So that is a little bit about where our name came from. And just wanted to give you guys You know, a little bit of background of our company. You can see here we have over 27 million API calls a day. We work with over 15,000 data sources, and we are in over 15 countries. And now you can just see a quick overview of our APIs. We have 3 APIs that we have available for startups. Our company actually began 16 years ago creating cloud deployment solutions for banks. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Mint.com. That was the first startup that we actually opened our APIs for. So right now what we have for our APIs available for you is aggregation, account verification, and snapshot. Just a little bit more about lending. I'm sure you guys have noticed there's a lot of it going on here. Avant and Innova, who are sponsors of this, actually do use our APIs. So it gives you just a little bit of background of what you can do. You know, our APIs will allow you to see the ability to repay, stability to repay, and as well as willingness to actually repay your loans. So it's really helping a lot of people out there get a better holistic picture of your financial health. Here is just a quick slide of some of our clients. As I mentioned, we started 16 years ago actually working with the banks. So you can see we have the side of our business that is financial institutions, and the division I work in would be the other side, where we're actually working with all the different internet innovators. Again, here's just a few more of the companies that are using our APIs, just to kind of give you an idea. I mean, the use cases really can branch the full spectrum of FinTech. And here is just a little bit more detailed information for you guys out there that are working in FinTech, so you can see the types of data we have and see if it could be applicable for your idea. And this is my favorite slide. We work with the suits and ties so you can make loot with our APIs. So don't want to take any more of your guys' time here today, but my name is Holly Tishby, and if you are interested at all in learning more about our APIs and pricing, we've got some really great stuff available. I would love to chat.
How many people have ever taken a job without negotiating? Like they say, here's your offer, and you go, yeah, okay, I'll take it. Okay, so everybody. I usually actually give this talk to women, but here we are anyway. So some of my slides are pink. So I've been in technical sales and sales management for about the last decade. I've placed over 100 consultants on assignment. I've managed really high-performing teams. At WindyCityRails, which is a consulting firm in Madison, we primarily do Ruby on Rails and lots of JavaScript. We do good work. I'm responsible for 2 things, client and developer happiness. So I hope that there's someone at where you work who's responsible for making sure that you have really engaging projects that you're really interested in working on. That's me at WindyCityRails. And I negotiate rate with clients on behalf of WindyCityRails. I've negotiated rate with consultants and on behalf of consultants. So I have, with those 100 consultants I've placed, a lot of negotiation experience. So I'm going to share that with you. So the value proposition when you're looking for a new job is, from your perspective, please rescue me from this terrible job. I want to leave. As it turns out, employers don't really care. What you need to say is something that makes sense from their side. So in my case, when I went to prospective employers, I said I sell between $2.5 and $3.5 million a year, and I'm confident I can do that for you too. But to me, I was mostly just trying to leave corporate hell. So I'll go quickly because there's a countdown clock. Okay, so try to garner multiple job offers. And how I think you should do that is you should apply to way more places than you think is absolutely necessary. Like, don't think about whether you're going to take the job before you apply. Just apply. Don't think about it. It's a numbers game. So if you think you're going to have to apply for 10 jobs, actually apply for 50. Whenever possible, don't be desperate for a job. It really ruins a negotiation. Know your worth. You have to have a good sense of the market, and probably that's, I mean, we're nice Midwestern people, so we never talk about how much we make, but maybe it's time to change that. And don't wait. So when you're in a situation where you have an offer on the table, don't think that you're going to get in there, prove your worth, and then be able to negotiate. Because what actually happens is when you start a job, you're a giant weirdo, and people are, you like eat someone's yogurt, or you make a really bad joke, and what were we thinking? Okay, so beware of ranges. If someone ever asks you what range of salary you make, you might be tempted to say something like, oh, 55 to 75, depending on benefits. Except that that's really dangerous because what you have said to your employer is, I'll take 55. You think you say 75, you've actually just said 55. Okay. You have some non-monetary wiggle room, right? We are all aware of the flexibility in PTO, but that's not first round stuff. So wait on that. Go money first, then the other stuff. All right, I'm cooking. Okay, here's how this should actually sound. So we are, again, really nice Midwestern people, and there's some fear that if we negotiate, people are going to decide that we are aggressive or that we're not team players. But if you negotiate like a normal human, they won't think that. So here's how that sounds. Thank you, that's a good offer. What more can you do? And this I learned from someone who used it to make $25,000 more. Yeah. I think like my first job, they paid me that much. They paid him that much more when he said that. Okay, I was hoping for something more like X. Can you get close? Do you have room to negotiate? People will be really upfront if they don't have room to negotiate. And if you are comparing two offers, if you're going to them and saying, I have two, I prefer your company, what can you beat? So I'm super close to the end. And thank you to BendyWorks, and thank you to WindyCityRails. And I always make this offer. So my Twitter is there if you follow me. If 10 people follow me, I might double my Twitter followers today. So if you're ever at a point where you need to be in a salary negotiation, and you tweet at me or send me a DM, I don't know, I'm not on, I don't flip right or whatever, but if you just reach out to me, I'm happy to help you with a salary negotiation. And I have dropped the mic. Thank you.
How many people use Docker here? Raise your hand. Good. How many people are looking to use Docker in the future? Great. So this talk is about some stuff I discovered while working with Docker on small projects, on some, we're doing consulting, so we deal with a lot of small and big projects. So along the line, I discovered a bunch of interesting things. So let's start. So a few things I want to discuss here. So first is Docker and UFW don't play nice. Containers don't have persistent IP addresses. Port publishing creates Docker proxy processes, and out-of-memory errors can knock down your whole operating system, and also dangling and attack images pollute file system. It's uncomplicated firewall. So what it is, essentially, it's a wrapper on top of IP tables that usually ships with Ubuntu, which is a really nice and easy way to manage your rules. So here's the example. First, the typical setup we have, like we deny all the incoming connections, we allow certain ports, and we say we want to allow only this particular IP address to any port on our example Postgres. So in a multi-host environment, when you have, let's say, application server and database server, you need to communicate between servers. So in this case, we start a container, and we publish port with Postgres, and technically you shouldn't be able to access it from any unrestricted server, but what happens though, you can still do it. And the reason why is first, the Docker injects special IP tables rules, and nobody knows about it if you didn't really have, never dealt with it. So what you essentially need to be doing is, there are a couple options. First, you can start a Docker container with IP tables false, which will basically tell Docker not to alter your IP tables, so it means your firewall will work just expected. Second, you always have to audit your IP tables because there are a lot of security stuff going on there. And also, do not publish ports unless you really have to, because there could be consequences. The next stuff is the container IP addresses. So container IP address is something that Docker allocates dynamically, so you shouldn't be relying on this. In this case, we have the first container, we inspect the IP address, then we stop it, when we start another one, and then we start our first one, and you can see the IP address change. That means we cannot rely on this. So the rules here do not ever rely on containers, the IP address of the containers, and you can also use custom Docker networks. They're pretty cool. It's one of the newest features. Also, never reference containers by name, always reference by name, and the last flag is the use IP address. That only works if you have a custom network. Next, if you ever run Docker with a publish port, you might notice there is actually a separate process that starts up. Essentially, it's a Docker proxy process that proxies traffic from your host to the container. It's something that I discovered, and sometimes it could be overhead in terms of if you have CPU-intensive loads, you can see that the process will eat a lot of CPU. So here, it's not really an issue. That's how the Docker works. So it runs a single process per container. So it means if you have many containers, you will have a lot of those processes. It's a little bit overhead, but again, as I said, it's something that's built in. And then again, don't publish ports unless you really have to, because otherwise there won't be proxy processes there. So the next thing is that sometimes if your operating system doesn't have a swap support, and basically your containers, if they don't have a memory restriction, they will eat all your memory. So you always have to be considering that you need to set a policy like how much memory they get, turn off the swap, and you also have to define restart policies, because sometimes containers go down. You want to make sure they get restarted. Also, the rule number 1, use always latest kernel where available and enable swap. That means the system will have enough room to not go down. And obviously monitor your resources, because if you don't know what's going on in the system, then you don't know anything. Another thing is dangling images. So when you push images and you pull a lot, you will see there's a lot of untagged images, and the more you push, the more file system get polluted. So one way is you can actually run this command, which will remove all those images, but it will leave those that are in use. So basically your containers that use on them will not go down. So it will save a lot of space. And here's a bonus. There's a script I use for development. Essentially, if you're running a lot of containers and you can just nuke them all, it's a small bash script. First, it checks whether you have a particular filter, or it just nukes them all. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Oh, Bob is already on the screen. So today I would like to introduce you Bob. Bob is a front-end designer in my company. And when we hired Bob, we faced a problem with him. Because, as you may know, a lot of designers and front-end engineers are using tools like Gulp, JavaScript-based pipeline. They use Sketch or Photoshop for their drafts, and they are really good in it. And what I don't like is to take people out of their environment. So I want to keep Bob with Gulp, but the problem is we're not using Gulp. We're using sprockets and embedded Ruby templates and Rails, all the stuff, you know this. And the way Bob uses Gulp is really interesting, because you may have seen this from other designers. They're using some kind of try and error. So they have their page open in the browser and the source code open in the editor and have live reload. So they save the file and it immediately updates in the browser. This is just a task of, let's say, 100 milliseconds. And this is really handy for them, because they can move the box 10 pixels to the left, 10 pixels to the right, and it's really quick and iterative. So I asked myself, how can I keep his environment and translate over the templates to our Rails application? And the perfect intersection for me was Mustache. Everyone heard here of Mustache templating system? Oh, that's not a lot. So I will give a really quick explanation. Mustache templating system is available in all major programming languages. Have a look at their page. There's the binding for JavaScript, binding for Ruby, and all other languages at all. It is really simple, because a templating language should not have a lot of logic inside. And that's the reason why Mustache only knows strings, Boolean, array, and the fourth one I forgot here, hashes. And the good thing about this is you can have these basic data types within your Ruby applications, within JSON files, within YAML files. It doesn't matter. It's just string, Boolean, array, hashes. And this is really handy, because what we did at our company is that, let's have a look at a pull request, the actual pull request from Bob. He has his Mustache template with the front-end fixtures, in this case, YAML. So whenever he changes something, he updates the YAML file with all the stubbing, and he updates the template. That's his major work he has to do. And the only thing I do when I get this pull request is that I have a look at the front-end fixtures. And I ask myself, in this example, first thing, do I have current user in this controller? Yes, that's the case. Then, do I have username and avatar? Yeah, both right. So I know when I merge this change from Bob, it immediately will work within our Rails application. And this is really handy because there is no migration or integration work to do. Do you know when you get some templates from your designer where there are placeholders like, please put ERB stuff here, or please put username here? This is not necessary with this technique because the front-end designer can use his JSON stubbing with Mustache. And because it's just so simple that you can explain arrays to every front-end designer. And with this, it's just not necessary for you as a back-end designer to adjust the templates anymore. And you may ask yourself, is that really working? Yeah. I use this in 2 companies right now for about a year now. The first one's Tamaika. That's a peer-to-peer car sharing. So whenever you visit Germany, just head over to their page and rent out a private car. And at this company, we're using this technique with an independent design agency in Berlin. And this agency has about 4 to 5 designers working solely on Mustache templates. They have no access to the Rails application because of privacy concerns and such. And they only use this, 5 minutes are over. I'm sorry, that's it.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be back in Chicago because this is where I first got my start with Rails. I was in Champaign, Illinois in 2006. I attended a talk by DHH. That's how kind of jumped from the Java side to the good, from the bad side to the good side. Can somebody help me fill this out here? Rails for fun and dash. Money. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about Rails for fun and doing good. Just I had this opportunity at my previous organization to do a good to the community. So I want to talk about that today. But so currently I'm at Clarity Services. So we are based in Tampa Bay, and what we do is we provide a real-time credit bureau. So we're like the next, after the big 3, we are the 4th one. So we are driven 100% with JRuby and Rails. So we're an awesome company. We contributed over 20 gems to the community. So just quickly, so this is how, like the organization I was with before, actually that's my wife and my daughter, a 7-year-old daughter. So my wife, she's a community organizer in Tampa. That's where we live now. And they came up with an idea to write a book to help support this child who had a special need. It was kind of like a big news in Tampa Bay, with the Tampa Bay Times covering it. Once that happened, we kind of got recognized from the President Obama, sent a letter. And then we started getting a lot of publicity and media, thanks to that letter from Obama. And then we started getting a lot of requests from all over the country with parents with special needs children about, wanting help. So, with my background in technology, I thought maybe we can create a little platform which could help bring in these families together and help raise, donations through social media. So that's what I did with the help of, with my Rails and my Ruby background. And thanks to DigitalOcean, I just wanted to shout out because, they provided the storage hosting services. So it's kind of, it was a successful social entrepreneurship. So it's being used right now as we speak. So that's about the doing good. But I just want to get back to the money. So I just wanted to throw a shout out to Clarity Services. It's a great company, like I said. And we have Jim James, who's the CTO here. Is very supportive of contributing back to the community. So we have over 20 gems. I mean, like some of the big ones are here. Please check it out. I mean, Rocket Job, Semantic Logger, Symmetric Encryption. I have links here, please. I mean, like they're like if you use Sidekick, so Rocket Job is a very great gem, which similar to Sidekick, but it does a lot more stuff. Just wanted to say like a big thank you to the Rails community. So if everybody can just give an applause to you guys, because you guys make it.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhavi. I'm from California Digital Library, and this is Dash, Data Sharing Made Easy. So Dash is a website for researchers to create, manage, and share their research data so they can actually create and describe the data sets, upload related files. When I mean files, it can be presentations, research papers, digital media, images, anything. They can submit to the repository to preserve it. They can manage it and share with other researchers. And they can use the discovery search system to facet and search, basically for search and browse. So what does it mean by depositing data into the repo? It means that it is preserved forever. So there's a persistent ID or a URL that is generated for this data, which will let you retrieve and access it at any time in the future. You can control the public access to your data. You can establish licensing rules. And you can make sure that your data is preserved for good. So I'm going to talk to you about the architecture and how Rails has helped me work through this application. So yeah, this is the architecture. Took me a lot of time to understand this. So this is my version of it. Simpler, all bubbles. So basically, you see there is stash and dash. Yeah, 2 words. So stash is the overall architecture. It also includes the repository and the protocol. Whereas Dash, the application which I'm talking about, is basically the 4 components within the red lines. So our aim at CDL was to make this a pluggable architecture. What I mean by pluggable is any of these components can be swapped with something that the user wants. Like, for example, for authentication, we've used Google Auth and Shibboleth. You can use probably something like LDAP or something even lighter than that, like device. And then there's the schema. So every researcher has to submit their data in a specific format. And there are multiple formats like Dublin Core, DataSite, EML, blah, blah, blah. So we want to be able to swap any of those components. We want to be even able to swap the repository. In our case, it is Merit. We want to be able to swap it from Merit with something else of your choice. So how did we do that? Well, we use Rails engines. Let me first show you how the website looks. Because of the paucity of time, I'm just going to show you the quick pages. So this is the homepage. And once you log in, this is the dashboard. I click on the Start New button. I create a data set. Data set is basically your individual object of data. So you could describe your data, like the title, description about it, the authors who wrote it. There's some geolocation information, too, that you can give. This is all, by the way, data site schema. So after this, you can upload files one at a time, a bunch of them, drag and drop. And finally, you review it and submit it to the repo. Once you submit it, you are notified about this. So this is how the Dash application looks like. I have a host Rails application, under which I have multiple Rails engines. The stash engine is the piece which holds the authentication and some basic structure about the data. The stash data site is the engine specifically for the data site schema I told you about. And the discovery phase is for the searching and facet search and browsing. So we use the Solar engine and the Geo Blacklight UI interface. These are the bunch of gems that we came up with for packaging and submitting your data into the repo and then harvesting it from the repo into the Solar engine for index and search. So these are the repositories on GitHub for our applications as well as the gems that we developed. I wanted to share my experiences with Rails engines with you guys on this platform. It's been a very interesting experience, I should say, because pros, we've been able to achieve the independent modularity that we wanted. We have been able to maintain and reuse code, and we are actually achieving our goal of pluggable architecture here. The challenges, well, this is the fun part. Since all these gems or engines are developed on a day-to-day basis, though we have tried our best, or still are trying our best to get this 100% abstraction, there is still some dependencies between these engines, and developing them on a daily basis has been sometimes, or a lot more times, a hassle. And there have been instances where we wanted an engine inside an engine, and I think with mountable engines, that's kind of hard. And also deploying the various versions of engines has been quite a challenge. So I wanted to use this platform to share my experiences with engines with you guys and get some feedback, suggestions, anything about how you have worked with engines, or if you have come across a similar kind of, similar scale of application. Would love to chat with you guys. Let me know. Thank you.